In this video, we're going to cover a quick tutorial on breaks of structure and changes of character. So a BOS and a CHoCH. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a diagram like this, but then we're actually going to transfer this to a real chart so we can see how it works on an actual price chart. So for this example here, we're looking at, the basics of market structure: higher highs, higher lows, lower highs, and lower lows. So we're going to map out breaks of structures and changes of characters on this diagram, and then we'll jump down to the real chart. So the first thing that we can see here is we make a higher high and we make a higher low, and then we make another higher high and another higher low. So this trend is bullish. This is an uptrend. We are making higher highs and higher lows. And then we can see in this trend, it is a bearish trend. We're making a lower high and then a lower low, lower high, lower low. The trend is going down here and the trend is going up here. So the first thing we want to label is a break of structure. So a break of structure happens when price closes candles above the previous high. So right in this area, when price moves up and this price is rising up to the right, and when it closes candles above the previous higher high, that is a BOS. So it's a break of structure. So that kind of sounds negative, but basically it means trend continuation. So we're continuing the trend up and to the right. Now what happens up here is we make a higher high. So the price here reaches a high point that's higher than the previous high. So that's a HH, that's a higher high. And then naturally the price retraces lower into a low here, and this low is higher than the previous one. So it's a higher low. And then as price travels up and crosses the previous high right here, when it closes candles above that high, that is another BOS. So that's a break of structure to the upside. The trend is continuing. We go up, we make another higher high, we make a higher low. Then what happens here is that this is your first sort of sign of the market structure weakening a bit, where this high is now a lower high. This high is lower than this one. So we do not make a break of structure. We don't continue the trend. And it's a slight warning sign that things are looking a little weaker. And then what happens is as price travels lower here and it comes down to this low point, we have now closed candles below a prior low. And that is a change of character. So the market has two characters, basically bullish and bearish. And when candles close below a prior low in an uptrend, that's a warning sign that perhaps the trend is changing. It's a change of character, and it's a warning sign to watch the next candles and see how things develop. So we continued on to a lower low, and then we come up to another lower high. So this high is lower than the previous high. And as we close candles below this low, what this is this is a BOS to the downside. So this is a break of structure to the downside, and the trend is continuing lower until we make another low. And this is a lower low because it's lower than the previous low. And we come up to a high here, and this high is lower than the previous one. It's a lower high, and we continue the trend. So what we make right here is another BOS. We make another break of structure to the downside. The trend is continuing. So we make a lower low, we make a lower high, but here is a first sign of potentially the trend changing. We now make a higher low. So we don't continue going lower. We make a higher low. And as price comes and crosses here, what we actually have here is a change of character. So we have a change of character right here because now price is closing candles above this previous high and the character is changing. We're no longer making lower lows. We've made a higher low, and there we have a change of character. Now, this change of character is what we sometimes call a fake out or an unofficial change of character. And that's because this high is not associated with a break of structure to the downside. So sometimes what happens is price comes up after this change of character and it gets close to this previous resistance zone, and it gets sold off and it comes down lower here, and the trend retraces lower. So this change of character is a change of character, but sometimes it's unofficial. What we really want is we want to close candles above this lower high, which has the last break of structure to the downside. And that is what we call more of an official change of character. And it's a higher probability that the trend has officially changed and price will continue to go up. So here we make a higher high, but we don't close candles below this resistance zone and we retrace lower. We make a higher low, so that's good. The market structure is maintained. And as we make a higher high and we cross this prior high, this is a break of structure. The trend is continuing and we continue higher and we rise up. And as we cross this previous lower high, that is where we can label a change of character, and we kind of associate that as the official change of character. This lower high is associated with the last break of structure to the downside. We have a unofficial change of character here. We always be cautious with this. The trend might change, but we make a break of structure. We continue. That's a great sign of trend continuation. And then we continue up and we officially close above this lower high. And that's another good sign that the trend is changing. So those are breaks of structures and changes of character. You can take a screenshot of this to help with analyzing charts for your future charting. Now, just so there's no confusion and there's consistency in the labeling, I've gone ahead and labeled this other change of character as the official one. So the higher low here, which is associated and linked to the last break of structure to the upside, when price travels and closes candles below that higher low, that is what we refer to as technically an official change of character. We've had one here, but sometimes these are fake outs. So we want to watch how things progress. We have a break of structure here, so that's more continuation that the trend is changing. But you can also reference this last higher low as the official change of character, just as we did in this section. So these are changes of character, but you should be cautious and wait for confirmation because sometimes they are fake outs and price hits resistance and continues the downtrend further. But here we have a break of structure. Then again, we do make what we refer to as an official change of character, with this last break of structure being associated with this lower high. So I just wanted to add that in so the labeling is consistent. Now, what we want to do is actually apply this to some real charts. And this is where things get a little bit more messy. So let's zoom out and we will look at the chart that I've set up here. This is Palantir, and we'll zoom in here and apply some breaks of structures and changes of character. Okay, so I've got this set up and I've labeled the highs and the lows on this chart. And now we will go in and we will label some breaks of structures and changes of character. Now, one of the best things to do, if you're not a member of our free trading group on the platform school, school.com/trading, you can come to this group, you can join for free, and you can actually post charts and analysis and get feedback. The best way to learn how to do charting and technical analysis is by actually practicing it, posting some screenshots, getting feedback. And a lot of people do this in our free group. And in the classroom section, we actually have a free momentum trading course that has a whole bunch of modules and lessons that covers the exact strategy that we talk about on this channel. So I highly recommend that you check out the first link in the description. Okay, so we are looking at Palantir here, and we are back in the May, the 2021 area, and we're going to label some of this with breaks of structures and changes of character. So we started with just labeling this lower high from the previous price action, where we make a higher low and we make a higher high here. So when this green candle closes above the prior wick of the prior high that we've labeled, that is a BOS. So there is a break of structure. The trend is continuing. We make a higher high and we continue. But what happens here is a few weeks later, So this is a weekly chart. We have a bearish candle, which is fine. We make a higher low. So the trend is normal. We are just retracing into a higher low. But here we make a lower high. So this high is lower than this one. A slight warning sign that maybe a bit of momentum is lost. And with this 12% candle, we actually close below what we've labeled as a higher low. So technically right here, when this red candle closes below the lowest point on this higher low area, that is a change of character. It's a warning sign that the trend may be changing. We want to watch the next few candles for continuation. And we certainly get that. We get several bearish candles, a few weeks of consolidating, and we continue downwards. Now, depending on how you want to label your charts, you can label this as a low and another high. I've opted to just label this as a low into this lower low section right here. Then we make a lower high. And then as we continue down, we make another break of structure to the downside. So the trend is continuing down. We make a BOS. So this candle closes below this lower low, and the trend continues down into this area where we make a big wick and we make a lower low, and then we make a lower high. And then in this area, we can see we don't make a lower low anymore. These candles in this area do not close below this wick. So that is a higher low. And then we make a lower high. And then here we actually do make a lower low. So we have a continuation down in this area. So we will mark that as a break of structure to the downside. And this wick right here associated with this lower low, when this candle closes below, that is a BOS to the downside right there. And we continue to this next lower low. And then what we have here is we have a higher high from this high right here. So what we actually have here is we have a change of character. So this wick, when candles closed above this wick from that lower high, what we have here is we have a change of character, and we've labeled this area as a higher high. So we've made a higher low down to a lower low, a break of structure to the downside, but now we've closed candles above our previous lower high, and we make a higher high, and that is a change of character to the upside. And we make a higher low, followed by a lower high, followed by another higher low. So we're maintaining market structure here. And then here would be a BOS. So we are continuing the trend. We have a break of structure to the upside. We've changed the character of the trend right here with this candle. We were bearish. We had a lower low, a slight higher low, but we continued with downward trend, a break of structure to the downside into a lower low. But here with this green candle, we changed, we closed above the prior lower high in a downtrend. That is a change of character. We make a higher low, we make another higher low, lower high, and then we have a big 28% week where we have a break of structure to the upside. That is a trend continuation, good sign for the trend to change. And then from there on, Palantir continued upwards and higher. So when you're looking at a stock like this, obviously you want to be cautious in this area. This is negative market structure. We break of structure to the downside, another break of structure to the downside. So you would want to be cautious in this area. But as soon as you make a change of character to the market structure, that's your first sign that the trend could be changing. You make higher lows, the market structure is intact. You make a break of structure for trend continuation. And then, Palantir continues on and does well. So there's one example that you can see that when you actually map it out on a chart, it's a little bit more messy. We've got wicks that we need to deal with. And it's not as easy as just a symmetrical, triangle label diagram. and so on. So you really need to practice this stuff. And again, the best way to do that, if you wish, is to just come to our free stock trading for beginners group. You can post charts in here. I review them. Other members can give feedback. And then if you're looking for the momentum strategy that we talk about on this channel, find a full free course as well. So I hope that you found this video useful, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one.